guys. Hey guys. What's going on? It's your girl Joy from Be the Difference Clothing. I hope everybody's doing fine. I hope you're doing well. I'm actually on a field trip today. So I appreciate you guys being here. It's gonna be lit soon. I'm just in darkness right now because I'm in the car just gathering my stuff. Hey, Shock Rocker King, Black, how you doing? Welcome to Hello World. Good to see you. Today, I named it the Great Debate because it's gonna be a cool experience. I'm here, and one of the local politicians is having a debate. So I am going to support the best way I know how, and that's to show up, listen, and try to be diplomatic on both sides, right? So this should be definitely very interesting, and I'm being nosy too. Hey, Quentin, how you doing? You know I got to be nosy because I need to know what's going on in front of me, behind me, and around me. Let me get prepared. All right, so I have my honey bun. Hey, Books, Floors, and Stuff. We have a member. We have a member. And it's Books, Floors, and Stuff. I got my little honey bun. Give me my honey bunny, honey bun. Let me just bite into it real quick. Um, so this is really cool. I figured this would be real interesting. Oh, I figured this will be very interesting. I shined it. Amen to that. Hey, Afro. Shine bright like a queen. Yes. Yes, I got my little honey bun. So I told you guys that I'm not really into politics, but I will support people that I do know and that I, want to see succeed. So that's why I'm here. I got my mask because we don't play these games. I don't care how ineffective masks really are. It's my little protection, my little nest in my head. Hey, Bayou, how you doing? So once I go silent, hey, Debo, how are you? Welcome to Hello World. Once I go silent, it's going to be interesting to see local politicians go toe to toe. Let's hear what they have to say, because this is our community. And I tell you, while I was driving to get here, your girl I was having a hard time. I was having a really hard time because I don't know. So much has changed in such a small period of time. And you couldn't tell me that nobody was broke. You could not tell me nobody was broke. And y'all, I got me a good spot too. So I was like, ooh, there's a park here. I didn't even know there was a park here. I got me a good old spot. Oh, wait, I parked right next to the place. Okay. I sure did. I got a front spot right here. That's why I was like, yo, this has to be too good to be true. How am I getting a spot like right in the front? Oh, it's not even that cold outside. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not even that cold outside. Let me see what the numbers are. I'm not too familiar with this part of town. Events. Let me see. This is it. So once I go, that means I won't be talking, but you guys will be able to hear what's going on. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mask up. You know I got to throw a little humor in there. All right, let's enter. I'm sure they started because I think it started at 7 o'clock. And then I have to make sure it's okay for you guys to be here. Hold on. All right. Here we go. This is beautiful.
I welcome everyone to our second hybrid meeting. And of course, what a meeting to have. We do have the council at large candidates that are joining us this evening, and we thank you very much for taking the time. I know that this is a very busy time, not only for the candidates, but for everyone. We truly thank them for actually putting it into their schedule. Not everyone was able to join us. Some people had other commitments, other priorities, specifically family issues that in my mind, our family always comes first. So I understand and do not hold it against anyone who's not able to attend. Again, as I mentioned, it is a very busy schedule to have during the campaign, but we do truly appreciate everyone that's joining us tonight that actually made a commitment to be here and greatly on time. So thank you very much to everyone. Just a few things that we're going to just cover. Tonight, since we do have all the candidates, we're going to go ahead and run right into our forum. And afterwards, please stay tuned. We're going to have a few announcements. I think there's going to be some very important announcements that people should be aware of. So we're hoping that you'll all stay tuned. Tonight's forum is going to be moderated by our own Aaron Morrell, who is the publisher and editor-in-chief of the Jersey Times. He is also a local resident and business owner, and we thought he'd be the ideal person to actually moderate this Q&A and meet and greet. This is not going to be a debate, but again, we will have questions, and we'll be open to questions in the audience and questions to the chat. So please feel free to enter them. Otherwise, we do have questions already prepared, so you can sit back and listen and enjoy. So tonight we do have Councilman Rolando Navarro, June Jones, Chris Gatson, Elvin Bonici, and Amy DeGees. So we welcome them all for being here. And again, please stay tuned for announcements afterwards. And I am going to go ahead and turn over this evening to Aaron Morrell, who will be moderating. And please bear with us if there's any issues with any kind of technical difficulties, we'll be sure to correct them. So it'll be fun and interesting. So let's all make sure that we're all enjoying tonight's evening. It's not a debate, so that's always a good thing. So again, welcome everyone, and thank you, Aaron, for joining.
Thank you, Aaron. Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Okay, so we'll get straight to the format of this forum tonight. We're going to start with a 2-minute introduction from each of the candidates. We'll go through all of them, and then we're going to ask them some questions, and they'll each have a minute to respond. I'm going to start, and after that, we're going to take questions from the audience and you folks back at home. I'm going to start, I guess, with Chris Gatson, right next to him. Chris, if elected, what would be your top 3 legislative priorities?
So what we're going to try to do is, if I may interrupt. So as tonight's forum, as it's going to be a little bit difficult, we're going to allow people to be able to stand up and be seen on Zoom. We do have a camera set up right now, so that way those people that are here can be seen on Zoom. So we may run into some technical difficulties. If there's a problem with the camera over there, we'll try to accommodate for you to be seen here. So this is not just going to be an audible, this is also going to be a Zoom if you feel comfortable to stand up. And I'm sorry I didn't mention that before. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to do a quick test.
Okay.
Make sure. So, and I apologize. So we'll do a little rewind here. So let me make sure that everybody can hear us on our second camera. Okay. All right. Testing on the second camera. Una, can you tell me if everything's working okay?
Yes, there's a slight echo, but we can hear you. Just speak up if you're over where you are, Ben.
Okay. So we may have a little bit of an issue with the volume. Again, can you hear the volume?
We can hear you fine.
All right.
We can hear you
Again,
fine, Aaron.
Okay, great.
great. Again, this was our attempt to be able to make sure that people are also seeing that we're all volunteers here, and we're trying to work with the budget. So by all means, this is my opportunity to say, please donate to the Van West Park Neighborhood Association. Please donate to the Barrow Mansion, because obviously, we want to make sure that we look as professional as possible. We've got great candidates and a great moderator, but obviously, we need to make sure that we can have the technical aspect of that also.
I'm just like everybody to take that.
So I would love very much for everyone to be able to take the moment to stand up here, to be seen on Zoom, so that way everybody at home, because we don't, unless you want me to be in front of you and moving the camera, I don't know if anybody's going to be comfortable with that.
Excuse me, Ben?
Yes.
Ben, could you stand closer to the microphone and see if you can come in more clearer? Tess, can you speak?
Okay, can you hear me on the microphone?
Come a little closer.
Oh boy, here we go. Can you hear me now?
One more time. Testing.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's much better.
All right, so we're gonna have probably a issue with that effect, so.
Okay, now we've got the.
All right, how's that?
I think we
I'm
need
gonna
to-
adjust that. Yes. Okay, how is that? Yeah, it's too low. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, gonna be back.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna give this a try.
Okay.
Okay, if it doesn't work, then we can either have them stay right where they are and then, or come up here if that works for you. Again, I apologize, we're just trying to make sure these all work. Okay? So
maybe
it's-
we have a problem here where. You know what, I think that and why don't they come up to mine? I'll step out of this, you know this camera works, okay?
Well, hold on, let me try one more thing. If you just turn that up, can you still do that?
I can mute after Aaron poses a question.
Okay.
And then,
How's this? Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, I think it was the matter of.
Okay, she didn't mute it, I guess, because we're getting there.
So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna mute,
Let's use this one.
we're gonna, when after the question is asked, we'll mute that, we're gonna mute the host, okay?
Okay.
Great, this is a good job.
Okay. Okay, back to the topics. All right, let's start with the introductions. Chris Gadsden, could you give us 2 minutes about yourself and why you're running?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Gadsden. I'm the proud father of 3 beautiful daughters. I've been married to my wife, Ella, for over 20 years. I'm a lifelong educator here in Jersey City. Say lifelong because when you put over 20 years in the Jersey City public school system, it feels like you're working on your life. I'm currently the proud principal at Abraham Lincoln High School here in Jersey City. In 2016, I made history of becoming the first Black council person in Ward B, running independently and running against the machine here in Hudson County. I consider myself a servant leader, someone who's very passionate about ensuring that everyone who's living, they have an advocate in me, and that's what I've been doing all throughout my adult life, lending my talents to various civic organizations, whether it be the NAACP or working with just everyone to ensure that legislation is passed to help out, the least of us and the best, right? I believe that everyone should be treated fairly. I stand up for the marginalized. And that's what I do. I think sometimes in Jersey City, we pander to a certain section of people. I just think that moving forward, I just believe that everyone can share in the prosperity of Jersey City. It's the more prosperous city in New Jersey, and I believe that we can have affordable housing. I believe that we can take care of our kids. I believe that we can improve the quality of life. I believe that we can improve city services. I believe that we can do all of the above because that's what Jersey City does. Thank you.
Jim Jones.
prioritize them would enhance our quality of life in Jersey City. As for myself, I founded the Morrison House CDC, located in Hoffman section of the city chapter. It is a nonprofit organization. It started out as a community-based organization. It grew into many things. We are now a CDC because of the needs that the community is desperate to have. We started out with little things, you know, like trees and plantings and stuff like that. We're now a CDC, a community development organization with a passion for affordable housing because it is desperately needed. We have a crisis here in Jersey City. We've had a crisis for many years. And it doesn't seem to be a priority of this current administration. In addition to that, I think one of the other issues that we need to concentrate on is safer streets. Our community has gone rampant with the gun violence, particularly on the south side of Jersey City, and it doesn't seem to be a priority either. That would be the second, as it was a question asked, of what the priorities would be. And definitely economic opportunity. Using the people in Jersey City, I think that Jersey City has a wonderful wealth of resource of people and resources that we should be using. It seems like, I'll get back to that.
Next is Amy Denise.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for moderating and inviting us as well. My name is Amy DeGeese. I'm a lifelong resident of Jersey City. I grew up in the Heights, lived in Marion briefly, and now I'm over on the south side of the city. And I'm proudly running to serve this city as a councilwoman at large, something that has been done in my family, not once, but twice. I want to do this because I want to be a part of the problem-solving process, and I want to seat at the table where these decisions are being made for a community that I've grown to love so much, and plan on raising my family and hopefully raise their families here as well. My core goals surround workforce development. That's what I do during the day. I'm an educator at the Hudson County Schools of Technology, mainly at County Prep High School here in Jersey City, but also in high tech as well, where our vocational programs build workforce development for in-school and out-of-school youth, also dislocated workers, and adult learners who need credentialing programs. I'm able to do that without a very low cost to the school district. And I believe that can be implemented here in Jersey City at very little to no cost to the city, and build our workforce here and also the career readiness skills of our youth, no matter what programs that they're in. I feel like my leadership style is one of diplomacy. You get a lot more done when you are a diplomat. It's one thing to go in headstrong, but you cannot be by yourself. You have to build a team. And I've done this as a union leader, serving as the vice president of my union and on top of the grievance and negotiation committees. I've done this as a classroom teacher in career workforce readiness, and now as the Democratic chair. And I hope that I can serve the city that I love so much and show everyone what's important to us here, what is in our culture here, whether you're born and raised here or you're new to this community. Everyone should be proud of being from here and living here, and I hope to serve you. Thank you.
Next is Elvin Dominici.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I want to thank the Bangor Park Association for having this open forum. I believe that community coming together and people believing in certain things can make a lot of changes. Having an open communication about the issues that are affecting Jersey City is important. I just an immigrant from the Dominican Republic that called this country and this wonderful city home. It is a place that I see my family and the people that are very valuable for me. I've been involved with the community for many years. And when you really care, you get involved with little things. I started helping people fill out the N400 application to become citizens for my community. I actually started a petition to get a traffic light on Summit Avenue in Baldwin Street in Jersey City Heights. And I did a little seminar for taxes and other things that I felt was important, especially because people that have no knowledge and they don't know the language, it's hard for them to get involved and get things right. Today, I'm in front of you running as a council person at large because I believe strongly that we cannot, handle a blank check to whoever is in power, whether it's Stephen Fuller or whether it's another mayor. We want to make sure that we have accountability, because somebody that has full power can actually take all the decisions without taking into consideration what are the things that are important for our communities. The things that are very important for me are accountability, affordability, and accessibility. When we talk about being accountable, I want to make sure that I'm accountable to the people of Jersey City, that when people come with needs and issues, we can have a clear understanding of what those issues are, and we can actually address those issues. When this administration have a program or an ordinance that is good, or any other administration, we can support it. We can actually have something that is not in favor of our community. We can have actually an independent mindset that we can actually step up and say that it's not right. I feel very strongly that we lost a lot of years on affordable housing. Thank you.
Next is Rolando Navarro.
Just be clear, is it to introduce yourself and why you're running, or is it three priorities?
It's, introduce yourself, that was my mistake.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Rolando Navarro. I'm councilman at large for the city of Jersey City. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you to Ben and to the EDPA board, and to all of you for hosting this and for entertaining us this evening, listening to us this evening. 10 years ago, around this time, I was first elected to city council. I ran independently at that time, without the support of the political machine, and without the support of then Councilman Steve Fuller. And 10 years later now, I'm running for re-election as a councilman at large, and running independently. I've come full circle once again. Once again, without the support of the political machines, and without the support of now Mayor Stephen Fuller. When I ran 10 years ago, I talked about ending the tale of two cities. That was very important for me as a lifelong resident of the Greenville section. We saw back then all the prosperity and development of the waterfront, how little of it was, how little of that prosperity was shared throughout the city, as has been talked about by others tonight. And so I talked passionately about doing that. And when I looked after my first term around the city, this Jersey City, the city that I love, in 2017, after my first term, I saw that those disparities had in fact not grown, that we had not bridged that gap, but in fact they'd grown wider here in Jersey City, and they continue to grow wider. We continue to see a city that, where there's a haves and have-nots in Jersey City, and I think that's what you're hearing from many of the candidates tonight. I'm running because of the young man that I ran into just this past weekend when I was canvassing in Greenville. I ran into him as he was packing up his things into a U-Haul, and he told me that he was leaving Jersey City to move to Union, New Jersey, because his rent went from $1,300 to $1,700. And we need to make sure that never happens again. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to start the supplementary questions, and each of the candidates is going to have 1 minute to respond. We'll have time to get up and sit down as well. We're going to give you, there's not a lot of time. We apologize. You will have 1 minute to respond. Ben is going to give you a 15-second warning, so
That'll be nice.
you can wrap up. As I understand, time goes quickly. So starting with Chris Getz, and we'll continue with that. What would be the three legislative priorities for you if you're elected? You can get up if you could. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good evening again. There are so many priorities inside of this city, but to pick three, and later on I'll give you the other four, 5, 6, 7. I think number one, the need for affordable housing and having people have people stay and live in Jersey City. I think that's hugely important. I also believe that ensuring that our schools are fully funded and making sure that our resources and our tax dollars are definitely there to service the education system here in Jersey City. And then I would say, lastly, would be our youth and recreation, and increasing the budget to ensure that we take care of population of people that will be taking care of us in years to come. Thank you.
Jude Jones, what would your top 3 legislative priorities be?
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt really quickly. I just want to make sure that we're not experiencing difficulties.
So, Ben?
Yes.
So at this point, I have no problem unmuting Aaron's microphone, but I'm having trouble unmuting the candidate microphone. I think it's because, yeah. So I think I'll just leave this one on, and then I will mute and unmute Aaron.
Aaron's probably over.
No, that's okay. Okay, so we'll leave the candidate. Hold on. We'll leave the candidate's microphone on and unmute Aaron. They don't have control on.
So my only question is, was everybody able to hear the candidate's last response?
Aaron's microphone picked up Ms. Jackson, but it would be better if we leave that microphone on and I just mute Aaron's microphone after he speaks.
Okay, so if we need the one that I'm currently at, we'll be able to still hear if we don't have to.
Yeah, I can unmute, Aaron's microphone, but I can't unmute Aaron.
I understand.
So maybe that one.
Okay. Again, sorry, it makes it most more interesting, so we're gonna go ahead and reset the camera and we're going forward. Reset the time. Reset the time. Yes.
So I guess for time's sake, I could say ditto for all what Chris said, but definitely prioritizing affordable housing. You know, you can't do anything here in Jersey City or any place else unless you have a decent place to live. And it has to be affordable. I mean, I fear to see what's going to happen in the future when referendums and other executive orders are lifted and we see more and more homeless people on the streets because they can't afford to live here in Jersey City. And the comment that was made earlier about people moving out of Jersey City is so very, 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 very. The second thing is recreation. I think it is important. And before I pass on for affordability, I think it is important for us when we talk about affordable housing to define what affordable housing really is. Everybody seems to refer to affordable housing, but the price range of what we're talking about seems to differ with every conversation. I think that we have to talk about legislators. I think that we have to have a true understanding of affordability. HUD guidelines just don't work when we talk about it.
Thank you, Jim Johnson. Next, Amy DeGees.
So I stated in my first initiative in my intro that workforce development is something I'm passionate about and I do on a day-to-day basis and I've been quite successful with. Believe in youth mentorship programs, especially with businesses and entities that have been given incentives to come here, as well as our small businesses and pop-up shops and young entrepreneurs to build the in-demand skills for their career readiness. I will go and say workforce housing. Some of the salaries are paid by tax dollars. I believe that we should create home ownership pathways for them that are affordable. That would influence more middle income housing and ownership, so people want to stay and raise their families here. I think the more people working and living here would then create better quality of life, safer streets, better bike lanes, and affordability. I also would like to discuss expanding the city's vacant lot tax and registry. It's not just a revenue stream, but it would create a safer, more sanitary walkways, bike light, and give efficient use of land. Thank you.
Thank you. Elvin Belenici.
Thank you. So for me, there are 3 things that I'm going to say right away because of time. Number 1 is public safety. Number 2 is affordability. And number 3 is public school completely funded. Why do I say public safety? Because to me, what is more valuable is life, right? Preserving life, making sure that if somebody died in Martin Luther King, right, the value of that person's life is the same value as somebody dying in downtown Jersey City. That blood and family is the same. So I want to see When I become the kind of person more proactively working with those families, providing social services, seeing that person was somebody that needed help. It was the main person that provided food and you know, leadership in that particular family. Affordable housing, the same thing. We want to make sure that there is 20% affordable housing. We want to make sure there is a path for ownership. We want to make sure that people in Jersey City, long-life residents, can stay here.
Thank you.
We gotta make sure that, also when we talk about, well, when I say public school, we gotta make sure that the kids have the most, we can get the most out of the kids. We will completely from the public schools, they have technology, they are up to the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you. Rolando Navarro. You all didn't know you were going to be getting this kind of exercise.
Hi, everyone. My three priorities are going to be many of the same priorities that I already have in my most recent term. The first thing I'll just touch on is school funding. We need to fully fund our public schools. Working with Councilman Solomon, we passed an ordinance that allowed for the marijuana tax revenue to be dedicated to our Jersey public schools. And I'll speak more about that as this forum goes on. The second thing is transparency and accountability. All of you have been hit, many of you have been hit with that MUA water tax, that hidden backdoor tax. You probably heard about the developer, Katera, one of the largest developers in Jersey City, who didn't pay a dime of their payroll taxes. And I want to make sure that those folks are held accountable and there's transparency in that. And the last thing I want to touch on again is affordability and housing. And so we need to do more to make sure that there's more affordable housing opportunities for all the people of Jersey City. Thank you all. I look forward to continuing the conversation on that.
Okay, so this next question is a little involved, so bear with me, but I think it's important. Affordability is the issue of the day, I would say. Everybody seems to agree that there needs to be more affordable housing. On one end, you have those that believe that there should be a hard 20% requirement with no outs, no givebacks, no community benefits. On the other hand, you have people who believe that that strict 20% requirement will slow development and create less housing. And sometimes you need givebacks, like schools and parks. That's what those people believe. So I would like to ask each of the candidates, what is the right solution on that continuum? And why do you believe that? And what is your evidence in support of your belief? Chris Gadsden.
Right. I just embarrassed Chris.
Sorry, Chris. It is, but you know, which do you believe? 20% or 10% with lots of givebacks? Make it simple.
All right, Tom, because it's gonna go past. No, I think that, we have to be firm, and, you know, the 20% buzzword, it's just that, right? But I think we have to do more, with affordable housing here. We have to have land banks, we have to just dedicate, housing for the life of a particular project. I think we have to do all that. Now, the givebacks that the developer wants to give, they just, you know, they can do that just based off of just, you know, goodwill and everything else, because, you know, a lot of the things that developers, another thing I want to discuss is that a lot of development is taking place in opportunity zones, so people get huge tax rates anyway before developing and building inside of Jersey City, outside of the big conversation that was years ago. So I just think that we have to prioritize affordable housing first, and then every other community benefit come later. We have to do things to solidify affordable housing in Jersey City.
Thank you. June Jones.
So, yes, I believe that 20% is an absolute mandatory necessity. We have a crisis. If we were building responsibly prior to this point, we would have made that part of the pro forma or the mandate to fulfill the needs of mandatory housing. Developers are going to develop as long as they make money, okay? And performance can be detailed so that that happens. But the crisis that we're facing in the city has to be dealt with. And the fact that we're dealing with affordable housing or the lack of in the midst of this booming development in Jersey City is pretty sad. It's pretty, and if you were to take away anything else in bartering with the affordable housing crisis, I guarantee you it would never be an issue that would be resolved or proper attention would be given to it.
Thank you. Amy DeGius.
I understand that incentives brought a lot of development, especially to this area. If you are from here for a long time, you know that this area looks a lot different than it did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But incentives cannot be a one-size-fits-all model, and you do need to work directly with the communities. You're here because you are a supporter or a part of the Van Forest Association. Those are the same people that should be brought to the table with city leadership when development is happening, to make sure that the culture and community of that particular place is maintained. You cannot have one dictation of everyone must do this. It's not going to work in every ward. Jersey City is a very diverse place. You can't make it that simple. Development does need to vary based on the communities that they're in, and incentives really do need to improve the quality of life, education, and safety of our community. We need to provide community space, green space, safe infrastructure, or funding going into capital developments to make sure that our roads 5 years down the road are taken care of, that our environment 10 years down the road will be taken care of.
Thank you. Aldo Dominici.
So for me, it has to be 20% affordable housing, no buyouts, no loopholes, nothing, because the last 8 years, we have missing out on affordable housing. And that is a dictatorship, because nobody has stand up in the city council to say exactly to these families that have to be moving out because of gentrification and how the city is being developed. And there is no opportunity for people that have lived here for decades to stay here. So for me, it has to be 20%. Now, we can have conversations with the different communities, what are the best areas that we can do those particular, development for green spaces and all this aspect. But I believe that we already lost 8 years of this, ISO being in place. And I know 5% is not enough, something that was struck down by the judge in Hudson County recently. So we want to make sure that the people that we have there are independent mindset, that they can stand up and defend and advocate for the people of Jersey City. Thank you.
Thank you. Rolando Lavarro.
So I just want to respectfully say to Mr. Dominici that there was one council person who was standing up, and that was me. I've been standing up for that for the past 4 years, and previously before that as well, but very vigorously and aggressively standing up for the past 4 years around this. Listen, folks, in October of 2020, the law that was talked about giving people the flexibility to provide the sort of benefits of parks and parking decks and things of that nature, all of that was passed, and I fought against that back then in October of 2020. The court struck it down on August 12th of this year, and they very clearly said that you can't trade away, that you can't force trade affordable units for these community benefits. And stop, right? I mean, that whole thing. The judge made it very clear. And so it's not really a question. It's not really a question of whether you can have one or the other at this point. It's really a question of, will we do 20% affordable housing or will we do less? And 20% is being done throughout. What people aren't saying is that it's being done throughout the state of New Jersey because it's state law. And we can make that happen here in Jersey City.
Okay, Rolando, in the interest of fairness, I'm going to start with you, not with Chris Gadsden for this next question. Crime rates have actually come down during the pandemic, except for homicide rates. But it's expected that they will probably climb again as society opens back up. What is your strategy for tackling crime in Jersey City?
So, when I first was elected to office, I attempted to put in an ordinance that would require that there would be a study every 4 years after a change in administration to determine whether the policing deployment and approach was effective or not. That law was struck down at that time, and in fact, Councilman Stephen Fulton himself voted for that law back in 2012 when I first was sitting on the city council. And I think we need to do something like that again. And what I've talked about over the past several years is the idea that while we look at statistics are not enough. What we need to look at is how our communities, do they feel safe? Whether you're in the Greenville section, or you're in downtown, or you're in the Heights, what is their feeling of safety? And we need to make sure that every community feels safe. and make sure that we put together a plan that provides the appropriate policing and deployment and other services and investments in our community to make sure that they're feeling safe. Thank you.
Alvin Dominici.
Thank you. So for me, I've been looking around and I see the city of Newark have started an office of violence prevention. I've been working a lot with the kids there. Basically, they take part of their budget, whether it's public safety or their allocations, and they actually can empower the community and the leaders that are working directly with the kids on the ground. I believe that we have to work with the kids early, meaning providing programs like mentorship, training, job training, recreation. We got to create these opportunities because right now the truth is that we don't have them. And it's been like that for many years. So we need to make sure that we have people in place that want to have that accountability to the community and provide those options for the kids that need it the most. And as I said, a percentage doesn't mean anything because if that percent represents your father, your mother, your husband, your kid, it's a price that is too high for anybody that you see. Thank you.
Andy DeGiz.
Some of our public safety measures to foster relationships that are mutually beneficial to everyone in our community, supportive, and that do keep us safe. I like that the county has started their own training facility, and our officers do not have to go down to central New Jersey and learn about tactics that they are never going to be used here, not useful here. Professional development that our officers get should be led by other people who are wearing the uniform on innovative technologies, strategies, community policing, and obviously their mental health. They should also receive professional development on the communities that they are policing and learn a little bit more about the people that they are policing, how to deal with them with respect, honesty, and integrity. I would like, in my vocational aspect, to develop a pre-apprenticeship program. I think that the more people we have from our community wanting to wear a uniform, the more people who understand their community will serve in that capacity. Be proud to do so. Serve in a union position, defend their neighborhoods, and serve the community that they love.
Thank you. June Jones.
So, trying to deal with the crime issue, I don't know if in fact, your question, it's hard to answer because you said the crime statistics are down, except for homicides. It's a part of the statistics. And you know, when people create crime, they create crime for several reasons. If it's not health issues, being mental issues of some sort of disturbance, it's because of need. Job opportunities, when people work and they're proud of what they do and they produce their own living, they're less likely to steal and create those kind of crimes. The same thing with children. You know, recreation, mentorships, programs, and in all aspects of what we do, you know, I think that the extra-critical training that police officers get, one, that it would service the needs of the individual and not necessarily treat them as criminal when in fact their issues are mentally or based.
And finally, Chris Katz.
For the record, I'm not a crime fighter, I would be a legislator, so I would have to, through the budget, allocate funds to help reduce crime. And how do you do that? Well, you don't do it, by, putting our officers through jujitsu, what you would do is you would help fund recreational activities. You would make sure that students, that kids, our youth, because when you look at crime, even though the statistics are down, youth crime is on the rise. So you have to make an investment inside of the youth, and that's why we talk about recreation, job creation, job programs all throughout the year. Because when you service the individuals who are committing crimes, you make sure that their needs are met, and you make sure that you will see the reduction in crime all throughout, the city, because people needs are being met. We have to fund initiatives to make sure that people's needs are met, so that they won't have a tendency to commit crime here in Jersey City.
Okay, so that is it for now for my questions, although I have more on here. But the audience is now going to submit questions to Una, I believe, as well as in your the live audience. So Una, do you have any questions that you'd like to pose to the candidates at this point? From the chat. I don't hear them.
Hey, here.
We hear an echo.
Let me read this one. Okay, Aaron, can you hear me now?
Yes. That's great.
Aaron?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you, Una.
Okay, very good. All right, just wanted to add that, the very first question that you asked, Chris Gadsden was because of the audio issues. Not everyone was able to hear. So I'm sorry to ask if you could go back and ask, Chris to repeat.
Poor Chris, he's really getting it tonight.
I don't know, I'm sorry.
Chris, the question was, what would your top 3 legislative priorities be, if elected? Yeah, Chris, why don't you just, stand here? Can you hear Chris? Go ahead, Chris.
Yes.
To repeat again, affordable housing, fully funded schools, and ensuring that recreation and just, that's free, but like I said before, there's so many improvement in quality of life, health and safety, there's a whole host of other, but the top 3 for me, making sure somebody is able to live, thrive, in Jersey City, ensure that our children have the resources that they need, and we can, and as legislators, we are responsible, for that, and it's making sure that their needs met recreation, job creation, things like that, to help improve the lives of our youth.
Great, thank you. Una, do you have any questions from the chat room?
I don't, but I'd just like to confirm, I've gotten a few direct messages and, but I haven't seen any in the chat. So I just wanted to confirm that no one else has, tried and we're having some sort of glitch. Please let me know if you have any questions. This is the time to put them in the chat. Here's one. Hold on. I think it has something to do with Ben's access. It says, one of the chat messages sent to Van Horst Park Association aren't being seen by everyone. So let me just add, maybe send them to me if you can, and let's see if we can bypass that issue.
Una, maybe while you're doing that, collecting those messages, we can take a message from the live audience.
Okay, very good.
Anybody here want to ask the candidates a question? We can go around the group the same way we've been doing. Okay, Angela, go ahead.
Yes.
If you want, I can repeat the question.
Well, I wanted to know more about what you think is affordable housing, because many of you know me. I'm an activist, and I also help run a food pantry with 2,100 people. And it seems that people only have enough money to pay for their rent or their gas and electric, and so then at the food pantry, we give them food because they can't afford to buy food because their rents have gone up, and they were born and raised in a building or whatever, because I am from here. I went to the grammar schools, elementary school. Many of you know I'm a retired school principal, and I'm a professor now at St. Peter's. But the thing is, everybody comes up, a lot of people come up to me and they say, Angela, what is affordable housing? Because I'm for low-cost housing. So what to you, to each one of you, what to you is affordable housing? Because there's so many variables with that. And when people come up to me all the time, I don't know what affordable housing is. All I know is that I'm for low-cost housing. So can you, each of you comment on it? Because that's a serious issue down here. We have a tale of two cities. We have people on one apartment building, they're coming to get food. They don't qualify for food stamps because they pay too much rent. And then on the other side, we have people that are very, very wealthy, next door. So what to you would be affordable housing?
Thank you, Angela.
Go ahead, did you get that?
We're gonna make sure that everybody heard.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? It was a little awful.
It's a long question, but in essence, the question is, what is the definition of affordable housing?
For each of the
For
candidates.
each of the candidates, and maybe we could just make this a 30-second response. Chris?
Sure.
Why don't you try it? Why don't you go here? Una, you got this down?
Yes.
Okay. And, was really referring to what type of affordable housing, because currently right now, affordable housing, most of it that's built is moderately affordable, but there is a huge need for low-income housing, right? And that's 30% AMI, 50%, AMI, and like June had mentioned about these HUD guidelines, there's a gap, right? So people who are making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 are in desperate need of affordable housing here inside of Jersey City, and let alone not forget our seniors, because a lot of times people don't understand that senior housing is low-income housing also, right? So with our population getting a lot older and living longer, they need affordable housing here in Jersey City also. So it's really taking care, like I said earlier, really taking care of the needs of this diverse aging population, this working population that needs affordable housing.
So we allowed for folks who are in the middle of thought, we allowed for a minute.
We'll make it a minute for each. Okay, June, would you like to come up?
So I think that we just need to come up with a true definition of what affordable is, whether it's low income housing, very low income housing, moderate income housing, because what's affordable to you may not be affordable to me. And if you are paying more than 35% of your salary on housing, it's not affordable. There's so many other things that you have to pay to live, to have a certain quality of life. And these are things that we really have to look at. When I started this in 1999 in my community, doing affordable housing, the average median income was $38,000. It's now up there to $68,000. Yet HUD uses the same guidelines that they used back then. Our area median income is changing rapidly because of the influx of people that are coming in with higher salaries and that gentrification that is absolutely happening right now. So this is something that we really have to concentrate on and make it so that it works for everybody. And also know that, as Chris pointed out, with senior housing and the way that they live, it is considered affordable housing. But all seniors don't necessarily fit in that mold. A senior should not necessarily have to live in a senior building. They should live anywhere they want to live. They pay their dues. And if we had affordable housing throughout the city, guess what? They'd be able to go wherever they wanted to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, geez.
So the definition does vary greatly, and it's really hard to fall into the qualifications. A lot of the affordable housing, you have to be making less than minimum wage to qualify for. Most people making less than minimum wage would be hopeful to get some assistance, which would then get them out of the loop. Which is why workforce housing, where you're paid by tax dollars, you have a low interest mortgage. The city used to have a Top on the Block program. They used to have the Good Neighbor Next Door program to train the teachers and firefighters. That's how Newark did a lot of the redevelopment. When working with developers, instead of multi-units, they built up townhomes and units that could be owned, because we want to promote ownership, not renting. So again, the definition of affordability is going to vary depending on the funding source. But I do believe that the city can work on initiatives that ensure that these are more owned properties, and that we're including everyone's income, mixed income as well.
Thank you, Alvin Dodici.
So I couldn't agree more with Chris and June. We gotta define exactly what is affordable. Somebody with an income of $45,000, $50,000 is no longer able to stay in Jersey City. And even candidate ABGs have to move from the Heights all the way to Greenville because she couldn't afford to live there no more. So we gotta make sure that we have something in place that can actually help everybody in the city, whether we're talking about seniors, whether we're talking about 30% MAI, or whether we're talking about a true path for people to be able to own a property in Jersey City, because why not? Whether we work either with the state or whether we work with the federal government, we gotta make sure that we can also provide a path for people to be able to buy properties here. And that doesn't have to be defined exactly because you make $50,000, $60,000. So for me, affordable housing has to be something that is a priority in Jersey City, something that hasn't been done for the last 8 years, with some exceptions, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Rolando Navarro.
So to the question about affordable housing, what does that mean? I think I really want to talk about affordable rents, right? Or what is an affordable rent for one person? And let me begin by just talking about the definition of cost burden, which Ms. Jones discussed and addressed that. 30%, if you're paying more than 30% of your income, your household income, you're considered cost burden. In Jersey City, in the Greenville section of Jersey City, 75% of all renters are cost burden, meaning they're paying over 30% of their income. And in some parts of the city, outside of the Greenville section, they're paying more than up to 50% of their income towards their housing costs. That's cost burden. That means they can't spend on things like education, healthcare, food on the table, etc. Right? So we need to make sure that we have affordable rents that don't leave people cost burden. The last thing I want to point out is that you've got the VYV building. That is 80% AMI. I just had a tenant there who told me that her rent was $1,350. They increased it to $1,800 in this pandemic year. On top of it, putting that, we can do better.
Thank you. Okay, Rolando, actually, we're going to start with you with this one. So this is from the chat room. With state funding of the public schools shrinking and school budgets rising, how do you minimize the property tax burden on Jersey City residents going forward?
Could you just repeat the question?
Okay. With state funding of the public schools shrinking and school budgets rising, how do you minimize the property tax burden on Jersey City residents going forward?
So in 1 minute. So as I mentioned, there is no easy solution to this. And if other folks are telling you otherwise, they're frankly just lying. We have a school funding crisis here in Jersey City. Our state funding is being cut by hundreds of millions of dollars over the next several years as well. We talked about the idea of, I mentioned before, that the marijuana tax revenue, 50% of that will be dedicated to the Jersey City public schools. But we have to find other ways to fill the gaps of the school funding cuts. And in the past several years, I and Councilman Solomon have proposed budgets that would allocate dollars towards the Jersey City public schools. All of that has been rejected. We need council members who, again, will be independent and be able to stand up for that and be able to say, we're going to make sure that we put our money where our mouth is and prioritize our funding here in Jersey City by allocating city dollars towards our Jersey City public schools. And there's a lot more ideas out there, but I'm happy to discuss that with folks. Thanks.
Thank you. Elvin, go ahead.
Thank you. So definitely property tax is an issue that we want to make sure that we put the best one together as a council person. To me, it has to be more accountability because we don't know exactly how the 160 tax amendments that we have already open in the city is actually allocating those monies. And for me, we got to take a look at that and see how those particular funds are being displaced and whether those funds are being actually helping the community. And that can be part of a solution for the public schools. And also I can say that because of this, this is the reason why the state and the federal level, they don't want to be involved, providing more funding for the public schools. So we have to have more accountability on those bases. We got to look ways that we can improve the school system. For me, there is no excuse, there is no blood, but we got to make sure that all the public school system are completely funded. That the school that we have here downtown is the same quality and at the same one that we have in Greenville. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
As an educator and a former Board of Ed trustee, this is something that I'm very passionate about. I do think it needs to be made clear that the Board of Ed has control of the budget and the tax levy, that the city council cannot dictate how money is spent nor write the school a blank check. That being said, the funding formula in Trenton really does need to be addressed by all the stakeholders. Board of Ed trustee, we were down there with the mayor and a few council people by ourselves, trying to fight for that. We need to get all of the stakeholders, elected, advocates, non-elected, student, parent groups, teachers, down there fighting and trying about a fair funding formula because they are not funding us fairly. Yes, we do have to look at the abatements and make sure that they are, fully put into the system if their 30 years are up. We also do need to expand our city shared services, and the city has done some of that under, when I was Board of Ed trustee, opening up the parking lots for overnight use, having some shared services with foods and cleanup and garbage.
Thank you. June Jones.
So I would start with reviewing both budgets, both the Board of Education's budget as well as the city. And yes, while the Board of Education has their own board and they have control of their own dollars, so does the city as well, with the city council. I believe that, with that in mind, both parties need to sit down and be able to discuss what the issues are. I'm sure there's a lot of shared services to trim the budget, but also too, we gotta make sure that we don't increase the taxes by adding other things behind the back door, because this solid waste tax, for instance, okay? And then what happened to the money that was originally budgeted for that solid waste contract? What are we doing with that money? Where is it? You see, and these are things that we would have to look at as we have a conversation on both sides. That money that was originally set up for that solid waste tax in the city's budget, and as we pay for it twice, the solid waste on the water side, there's extra money to look at. Where does that go? Where can we apply?
Thank you. Chris Gadsden.
Back in 2016, when I was on council, I had, myself and Mike Ewing had talked about sharing pilot revenue, sharing tax abatement money, have that money for schools. Okay, that was mixed. And then later on, state legislators gave their city the permission to collect payroll tax revenue. And so, the city is now saying that, sometimes it's hard to collect payroll tax revenue. They don't want to certify the way they can certify it. All right, we're fine. And then, eventually, businesses and will ask people to live and move in Jersey City. So I think we got to be very creative. As Jersey City is developing, we need a vacancy tax because there's a lot of units that are not being utilized, that are not affordable. We need to tax people. Secondly, we need to introduce an income tax in Jersey City because the property owners should not be burdened. So we need to really look into income taxes and everything else to fund, our public schools without putting a burden on the property owners. I ain't one.
Thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to ask a question. I think there's a perception that quality of life in Jersey City is suffering. Now I'm not talking about crime, I'm talking about other types of quality of life issues. Chris Gadsden, if you could start by talking about quality of life issues generally and how you think the city should attack them.
I think when people talk, as a board council, when I sat on the city council side of, on the west side, when folks said quality of life, they were talking about how they felt and how the neighborhood feels when it's in relationship to trash and things like that on the streets, and, the overall feel of the community. So I just think that the city, in order to improve the overall quality of life, I just think that people need to improve on just the city services and how they respond. Like we're a city that spends millions of dollars in other places, right? But we need a more dedicated effort with our DPW. We need to make investments so that, we don't have to depend upon our neighborhood improvement, districts and things like that. We need to continue to be like Union City. When you look at Union City, you don't see trash. Why? Because their public safety, public works department budget far exceeds Jersey City, and we're a lot larger than them. So we need to make those investments on our streets to make sure that that cleanliness is done.
June Jones?
Gosh, quality of life, there's so many issues that affect our quality of life. And trash could be one of them, but, the traffic in Jersey City is horrible. There's the noise pollution is horrible in many places. And, you know, we can make laws and talk about doing different things, but the implementation of those laws and carrying them out. You know, I was walking the street the other day and looking at the issues of trash on the street, and I didn't see any garbage cans. So where do people put garbage cans? And so, I mean, put trash. So in that particular situation, the solution is very easy. How about we provide more trash receptacles to put trash in? And I think that with all of the issues that we face today, if we prioritize and make it part of our making life better, all of us is in this together. And we have to put our 2 cents in and we have to do something about it.
Amy DeGeese?
Quality of life issues is something that hits us all. We're all at large, we've been campaigning citywide. I know we've heard quality of issue statements in every single ward, no matter your demographic, your status, your age. You're talking about your quality of life, and that's going to hit you harder than some national level issues. There's a lot of ways you can attack this, but I would like a data-driven approach. Something that we can be more proactive rather than reactive. We should know when garbage is going to, be insurmountable at certain times of the year. When people start to throw away furniture at certain times of the month. That way our DPW services can go through these locations where they see the abundance of garbage being dropped off. Right by County Prep High School, there's a vacant building. There's furniture there every single day. So we need a data-driven response so we can plan better and delegate our DPW forces who work very tirelessly per ward and have them own a ward, basically, a certain amount of workers, where they go in there and they know at this time of the month or this time of the day or this time of the year what they can experience and how to attack it before it happens.
Affordability.
So quality of life define how happy you are every city, and there are different things that we can address in order to make that happen. Something that I got for many conversations, people are very upset with parking spaces and the lack of it throughout the city. I always say that developers can come without putting the share of parking for the people that are coming in and just assuming that people's gonna be able to use public transportation. I wanna see more green spaces. I wanna see more small parks that have areas for dogs to actually be able to, to recreate as well for kids and family. I wanna make sure that, we gotta take a study on the traffic and, developing an area, how much cars are gonna be there, the pollution that is gonna come with that. Also, something that is related, but, not directly, we got so many nonprofits that are doing great things out there that are helping a lot of the community. So I think we should be able to have some part of that particular budget to be able to help those people that are willing to put their time and sacrifice to fulfill those missions. Thank you.
And finally, Rolando Navarro.
So quality of life issues cover a wide spectrum of different issues, from the trash, the litter, to the tree pits, the empty tree pits that line our sidewalks, parking issues, housing conditions. Just this past weekend, again, talking to some residents, talking to a resident who told me that her building was mice infested, and that she couldn't get inspectors or anyone to address this issue. So across the board, I've said this repeatedly over my career, is that I don't need to write another law to address quality of life issues. What we need to do is enforce the laws that are already in place. And we need to double the budgets and enforcement, literally, and ensure that we hold accountable as a city council, the administration, for ensuring that they do the work that they should be doing. And so I promise you that as a councilman, I'm going to fight to do that, to make sure that those different divisions that are responsible for quality of life enforcement, that in fact they're doing their job, and that we be able to give them the resources to be able to do the job better here in Jersey City. Thank you.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up sustainability. It's something that's important to a lot of people. Starting with Chris Gadsden, I guess. Chris, I'm curious what you think the most important initiatives Jersey City could undertake on the sustainability front are.
I mean, it's very long, and the answer is very long, but if I can, I guess, to summarize this, Jersey City needs to be more more sustainable, it has to do a couple things. Number one, where there's too much concrete, right? We don't have enough green space to absorb water, and our sewer system is over 150 years old. We have to make major investments in our sewer system because we can't get rid of water, all right? There's areas downtown that are flooding, and areas on my side of town, on the west side, they are flooding. And that's because we have to make major investments inside of our green space and also inside of our infrastructure so that we don't have any more sinkholes, we can have waves of water emptying out into the Hackensack and into the Hudson very quickly so that our basements and homes won't be flooded. Okay.
45. Attorney Jones?
I think the biggest dent we can make in being sustainable in Jersey City is fixing our combined sewers, and separating the runoff, the waterfall runoff, and so that we don't flood. I mean, I think it's only going to get worse, the flooding. I think Chris is right, we need more green space. And then I think everybody agrees that we need more green space, especially coming post-pandemic. Where do you go if you live in an apartment building and you don't have no backyard? How do you absorb the green space? One of the reasons why I'm still shaking my head as to why we're fighting to keep 3.4 acres at Bergen Ave Park, building that out. We can certainly plant more trees. I think that more gardens in the neighborhood and planting and the understanding of how we contaminate our land to prevent those things of contamination is important. I had a conversation recently with Ms. Tagliano about the heat wave in Jersey City because of the lack of trees. It is a real problem that we need to address.
Take care of nature.
Like a lot of the other trees, sustainability can be exploited back a lot of ways. Our tree canopy, our development as well. I think any new and all new development should have sustainable materials, and it should include things, gardens on the top of the roofs and on the sides of the homes. Should address, if you're digging up the roads, to look at the sewer system and the pipage and make sure that there are no problems right now and no problems in 5 years, and there are experts that can do that. I think the city did a great job with starting an open trust fund. I believe it garners about $1 million a year. I'd like to expand on that open trust fund and work with the neighboring municipalities to make sure that our green spaces are protected and expanded. This way we invite our community to take part in community gardens, talk about the trees, the migration of birds, the bugs and the insects that are in there, the ones that are good, the ones that are bad. The more that we educate our community on the importance of open space and have recreational activities there, the more demand you'll see for that in little top parks and little vacant lots and in new developments, big or small, they'll have sustainable actions there. And policies can be built in that.
Thank you. Alderman Dominici.
So I definitely agree with my running mates, and the sustainability of the city is very important. Whether you're talking about transportation, whether you're talking about green spaces, streets, whatever, that can affect the community to make it a better place. But for me, very important is infrastructure, right? If you go out of here and I challenge you, you get something in your hand to put in the trash can for the city. I don't know how many miles you need to go in order to put that in the trash can. So we got to make sure that we have more accountability in our city to have these, trash can on the street. This can be also a position to create more jobs for those people that are on the street that may be, dealing with crime and drug addiction. Because if you go to all the cities, you can see there's a lot of people that go on the street and pick up the garbage and put it in public plates. Especially when we have, a country with regional industry that is not doing a good job, that they need more garbage and get everybody with more money. That why should they pay? So for me, infrastructure, transportation, maybe doing more late bikes, whenever the neighborhood allow it, and make sure that we have more green spaces. Thank you.
Finally, Rolando Navarro.
So we all know what we've experienced throughout Jersey City, the flooding that goes on, and we've seen it recently with Hurricane Ida. So when we talk about sustainability and those issues with the combined sewer overflow, we currently have in Jersey City a long-term control plan. $650 million at the MUA in conjunction and partnership with the Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission is looking to allocate $650 million of Jersey City's taxpayer dollars towards such a effort to upgrade and improve our gray infrastructure here in Jersey, pipes and so forth, to hold the water and the sewer to, all of that. So we need more green infrastructure there. I've said it in the meetings that we've had there, we need to allocate more dollars towards that green infrastructure. In Philadelphia, they have a $1 billion plan for similar, to address a similar issue. They got it down to $200 million using green infrastructure. We can do the same here in Jersey City. And we can also use the $3.5 trillion infrastructure dollars from the federal government. They're coming down to use that to address our sustainability issues in Jersey City.
Thank you. So we're going to take one more question from the audience here, and then we're going to give everybody a chance to sum up. Gary, you had your hand raised.
I'd like all the candidates who are fully vaccinated to raise their hand.
The question was, if you were fully vaccinated, please raise your hand. And since we don't have the camera facing everybody right now, everyone raise their hand.
Right.
We're going.
Let the record reflect that everybody is fully vaccinated.
Can't speak for the ones that aren't here, though.
Oh, you want to take one, Michelle? Okay.
Una?
Yes.
We're gonna, because of time, we're gonna just take one question from the chat, because we still have to allow.
Okay, well, you already addressed, there was a question about resilience to climate change and flooding, et cetera, and I think you addressed that. There's also questions about economic segregation, aka gentrification. What are their thoughts on that? And also cannabis legislation. You know, how do they expect the money to be spent? And how are people going to be able to weigh in on that, and how the taxes are used?
Okay, perhaps we could break those up because that's going to take a while. Maybe we could start.
Maybe we should start time for 2 questions only, so that way we can allow for.
Okay.
Right.
Well, then I would say the marijuana legislation, because I've heard you speak about the flooding already. People are concerned about gentrification and policies to prevent that from forcing people out, or economic segregation. There was also a question about Liberty State Park, and so you can choose, I think, at this point.
All right, so what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna invoke my duties as the president and just go ahead and choose a question here, so that way we can move things along. Question is actually also going to be posted up there for those of you that want to see. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go from the back. All right. Apparently, I don't have the questions shared with me here.
Right. So
All right,
so I think it has something to do with our codes capabilities. So some people send them to me privately.
Okay.
So I would say the next item that you haven't addressed is basically an equity program through cannabis legislation.
Okay.
How are you going to make sure permits and whatnot go to the underserved? How is the taxes from cannabis legislation expected to be spent?
Okay, so we'll focus the question on how do the candidates expect the taxes to be spent from the cannabis? Can we sum up that question that way?
Well, I think there was an equity.
And there was also a request that we start like in the middle, with maybe like Jim Jones or something in the middle.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Okay, well, it's hard to try to.
I know, it's an end.
Why don't we, I think the issue of equity in cannabis is interesting, and I think that's something that we talked about a lot. Jim Jones, and to everybody, how do we ensure that, this new cannabis business that's emerging is going to benefit everybody, and that equity is going to reign supreme in this?
Well, one way to make sure that everybody gets a piece of this pie is to make sure that there's seats at the table. With almost everything that we do, you know, there has been some disparity on people who have been incarcerated for using marijuana. We want to make sure that those people who were unfairly judged and unfairly imprisoned are justifiably eligible to be a part of that, because now we see that it is legal, and all the things that we thought was bad about it is no longer true in many cases. So everybody needs to be able to get a chance to have a seat at the table. And, you know, when these things happen in general, you know, there's ways of making laws that prevent us from sitting at the table. And so, yeah, we need to really look very closely at that so that we make sure that we are at that table, because usually when you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And then as far as the spending of the money, the same way. Equitable.
Okay, we're gonna mix it up. Elvin donation next.
Thank you. So, there's many different things about the kind of legislation and how we can make it better. I would like to see, the first thing that I would like to see is that these businesses stay far away from our local schools. Like, you know, sometimes they just like, you know, places that can be very close to a school, the children can be affected by that, even though that is legal. I think that's something that is very important. Also, something for me that is very important is that we gotta penalize it, right? And whoever has suffered through the system because of this marijuana was illegal in the past, maybe they can be the same people that can be working in this business and give them a job opportunity. Also, we want to make sure that the minorities that are being affected the most are the people on the table that can own these businesses. We don't want people from all the parts of the country or all the states that have been coming to the city and starting these businesses. We got to give the opportunities to the people that live in the city, especially, you know, the Latino, the African Americans who are the community that have suffered. Thank you.
Rolando?
So as I said earlier, that as it pertains to marijuana, local marijuana tax revenue, and there's also state tax revenue, but the focus and what we can control here in Jersey City is our local tax revenue from the marijuana sales. And the city council enacted legislation that will dedicate 50% of those funds to the Jersey City Public Schools to help fill that funding gap that we talked about. The other 50% is supposed to go into social equity type programs. And so that's still kind of wide open, figuring out how that money will be distributed. You know, I introduced amendments to the legislation. I was the only council person to ensure that the micro businesses, that these are the locally owned businesses, that they lower the cost of for the fees, for the permits and so forth, to be able to apply for that, that they have access to the market. As it pertains to the social equity, we're going to have to commit, the council people have to step up, whoever comes out of this election, to being sure that those cannabis control board, when they authorize permits, they make sure social equity is a part of those authorizations.
Thank you. Please.
So in the past year, 18 months, the city has put together a framework on how to welcome the cannabis industry in a safe way. And even our prosecutor, Jay Cunningham, has been a huge part of that, you know, stopping prosecution of marijuana cases prior to the New Jersey Attorney General doing so. And I think that Jersey City will continue on that pathway with its administration. We do have to ensure that we aren't welcoming issues that we didn't already foresee, so we'll have to be slow and meaningful and engage all of our stakeholders. I think there was a model done in Colorado that was much more successful than one in California, prohibiting places, people like Marlboro coming in and trying to make a big industry out of this. And the revenue went back to the schools, social emotional health programs, including addiction services, as well as recreational programs for our youth to make sure that they were doing something quality with their time, instead of being, you know, drawn to these places, whether they're near schools or not. People are going to know that they're legal. We do have to educate individuals. We have to, you know, put everyone there. We need to develop a way that everyone can be a part of this industry, employ locally, and spread it all out.
Thank you. And finally, Chris Gadsden.
Yes, you knew when Snoop Dogg came to Jersey City, like you knew something was up.
True.
You know, with marijuana, in this industry that's coming about, we have to ensure that capitalists don't take full advantage, because, you know, at Jersey City, over the last couple of years, they zoned areas and portions of Jersey City where, you can conduct businesses and you can put dispensaries and everything else like that. But I just think that moving forward, like a whole industry is about to take root here in New Jersey. So we're gonna have to partner with our community colleges, and like Amy had mentioned earlier, we're gonna have to, this is workforce, right? So this is just a time where we train populations, talking high school, we're talking about farming, we're talking about planning, we're talking about just the whole nature of the industry. We have to make sure that our population is employed inside of that industry in Jersey City. So when local dispensaries come, they have a workforce that is ready to go to work in Jersey City inside of that industry for the local shops and also for the farming and that's going to take place.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes the question and answer portion. The president of the PVPA tells me that we are fast approaching the end of this forum. So what we're going to do is let each of the candidates make a 2-minute closing statement, and we will try and mix up the order. I've heard it loud and clear that we need to do that. So a closing statement, and that'll be it. You can, anybody who has not had a chance to ask a question, we will forward the questions to the candidates so that they can answer them directly to you. Okay, so I hate to surprise people, but Amy DeGeese, why don't you start with your closing statement?
Thank you again, everyone that's here, everyone's watching, and again for your invitation to do this. Campaign is not easy, we're all on the trail right now, tired, and we're doing this, and thanking the other candidates as well. I'm extremely passionate about this city, but I'm even more extremely passionate about doing this work. You hear laughter about my notes. I know that I'm well studied. I will read every book, listen to everything I can to make sure that I do this in the best way possible. There is no ego here. It is all wanting to work and do the best for my hometown. This is part of a legacy for me. I, in many ways, grew up in St. Paul. My mother was very ill growing up. She passed away when I was younger. My dad raised me, and he raised me in St. Paul. I saw not just good politics, but how you have to be a diplomat. How you have to work with people yelling at you, how you have to work with people who are upset with you, how to work with people who want something from you, and get things done at the end of the day that you could rest your head on the pillow and be confident about. I do that as a school teacher and educator, I do that as a union leader, I do that as a board of ed trustee. Follow my heart and my head and make sure I was prepared for everything. I would love to have the opportunity to serve this city, continue on to that great legacy, and fulfill, my passions and have people reach their full potentials. Mentoring our youth, releasing them as seniors into their high school, to the working world with career readiness skills it's such an accomplishment in myself. But elected or unelected, I will advocate for this city for the rest of my life, and I will teach my family how to do so. Thank you again for your time.
Rolando Claro.
Very nicely said.
Again, I'll give you 15 seconds.
So let me just end by saying thank you all for giving us an opportunity to speak, being able to present our candidacy to you. So now, I'm running for re-election, as I said, to end the tale of two cities here in Jersey. It's what I started out with 10 years ago, and we have a lot more work to do there. You have seen, if you want what's been going on here in Jersey City, and what I mean by that is unlimited development here in Jersey City. And you've seen it here in Van Horst firsthand. You've seen it with the Bright Street development and the micro units. You've seen it with the Bates Avenue redevelopment plan with proposed 50-story towers and minimal givebacks to the community and minimal affordable housing in the process, workforce housing. And so I think we can do better here in Jersey City. I fought against that NUA water tax, and so this administration, when they tried to put that back to our tax. I've fought when a developer was building here on Bright Street, Katara, when it was discovered that they didn't pay their payroll taxes. I called that out. When this IZO, inclusionary zoning ordinance, was established last October, I pushed back and tried to amend that and to fight against that. If you want what's been going on, unlimited development, then you should stay with the status quo, and you should stay with the incumbent administration and their representatives. If you're looking for effective checks and balances, someone who's continuing to fight for the people of Jersey City, then I ask you to send me back to City Hall and send me back to the council dais so that I can continue to be an advocate and to fight for all the people of Jersey City. And I urge you also to consider bringing an entire council that will be independent and be able to provide an effective check and balance over the next 4 years. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure for me to serve for you in 10 years, for the past 10 years, and I hope I can serve for you the next 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Gadsden.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Boris. This has been a great time. You know, I'm running for office again because I want to affect change. I want to be a councilman and a legislator that creates policy that's going to take care of the residents here in Jersey City, right? My whole life is, you know, a lifelong resident. I have investment in Jersey City, educated in Jersey City, I grew my family up in Jersey City, and I'm going to continue to fight in Jersey City, right? As an activist and as an advocate, like if you Google, because I don't have too much time to really just talk about all the things, whatever that I've done. I'm very humble about it, so all that stuff, I just try to minimize. But just Google, and you'll see that on the front from police accountability all the way up to building affordable housing. That's me, all right? And a lot of times I put myself out there, you know, I'm an educator, right? I'm a principal of a high school in Jersey City. And I'm moving through all the politics in Jersey City. And I don't really care about, you know, the loss of job and all the rest of those type of things, because my number one concern and my number one passion is ensuring that somebody's being treated fairly. And as a council person, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to legislate change here in Jersey City. So if it's gentrification that we have to address and ensuring that affordable housing is built, I'm going to do that. If it's making sure that tax revenue is being allocated to the schools so our kids can have the best, I'm going to do that. If it's recreation, I'm going to do that. If it's you know, corruption inside the city government, I'm going to call it out. And we're going to have press conferences around it. We're going to make sure that government is transparent in Jersey City, and that's what I've been doing my whole adult life. And that's the type of advocacy and activism and all the rest of the concerns of the residents. I'm going to put that on display as Jersey City Council at large here in Jersey City. And like Rolando said, I'm asking for everyone to not just look at the dominant money spending operation that's taking place and really give independent leadership a chance here in Jersey City. Thank you.
Elvin Dominici, thank you.
I would like to thank everybody for being here, and Aaron and the president of the Medical Association to give us an opportunity to display our platform and talk about the things that are actually being in our city. For me, I believe that, you know, people talk about love and how they care about the community, but we have some council people that were not able to come here to defend the chapter, and that's very sad, because at the end of the day, you cannot go about promises. I can promise you the whole world, but if I sit at that table where the decisions are made, and I spent 8 years not actually fulfilling my duty, the trust that was put in me for the people that voted me in, and I betrayed that by not providing affordable housing, by not saying nothing about the shooting happening in the Annis building in Communico, and Martin Luther King, by not being proactive about the water tax and saying, as a council person, that this is not good for our community. I feel that you should not trust these people. You gotta find ways to elect people that can prove yourself, that not because they're elected, but before they get elected, they have a track record that they're doing great things for the community. I'm very proud to say that I'm being involved with small business and have done my best to help my community, because I'm truly passionate about this city, because this is the place I work for my family, and I have an opportunity to become a professional. It's the place that I have my kids, and I want to lead the way. Like maybe Councilman John did in the past with a thick accent, but able to do what's right for this community. If you want to see people that can listen to your voices, that can actually do the best for you, and that city council regardless you at least leave the background where you live, whether you live in downtown or you live in Greenville, I will trust you to trust me where you go. Elvin Dominici, 7B, on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, June Jones.
Last but not least, listen, I am very passionate about what I do in the community. This led me to where I am today. I care so much about the people that I live with, or live around, live in my community, and in Jersey City. I love this town. I love this town. And we could be so much better. And everybody not just some. I'm very sad that recently, in the past few years, as I've attended council meetings since 1999, we have been following the issues in the community, coming out, speaking up on the issues. We created our Morris Canal redevelopment plan, and the reason why our plan was so special initially is because we were able to get our organization written in the plan. That was unheard of. We were the first ones to do it in the state of New Jersey. And the reason why is because we were passionate about the issues in our neighborhood. Once people came out and was able and successful to get things done, it encouraged them to do more and do more. And that's the kind of government we should have in Jersey City, that we have a government that listens to the people and their needs and provide resources and opportunity to change things that just don't work. Listening to some of the council in the past few years, even with opposition from their residents, the constituents that they represent, we elected them to represent, went against us. And that's a problem. So when you come to a point where your representation doesn't represent you, it's time to go. I guarantee you there are so many issues to speak on, I cannot do it all. But I promise you, I will not be bossed, I will not be bullied, and I won't be bought. You will have an independent leader representing you citywide. 6B, June Jones, please vote for me come November 2nd.
I'd like to thank all of the candidates tonight for giving us a great forum, lots of information. Thank you so much.
We are actually not done with our Glenville Park meeting, but I do want to say thank you very much to Aaron Morehill. I'm sorry, excuse me?
I have to make an announcement.
Okay, well, just 1 second. I just want to say thank you very much to Aaron Morehill for orchestrating the questions, coming on at the last minute, representing the interests of the business, the community, and in such a professional way. I thank you very much for actually being able to moderate. It was exactly what we expected. I too want to thank all the candidates who came. So you're welcome. We not only exercise your minds, but we exercise your body. Everybody got their steps in, so there's going to be a good flow of life. And just a few announcements, since you are going to be representing our community, just so you have an idea of the things that are going on in our area. So for example, and I'm just going to run through this quickly because we want everybody to be able to go home. My kids are waiting for me as well. So sewer rehabilitation on Wayne Street. So it's going to be total destruction on Wayne Street, starting tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. into Friday morning, October 22nd to 5 a.m. So it's going to be 36 hours where you're not going to really have full functionality of your sewer. So you're going to limit the use of your sewer water. So this is something that's happening in the middle of the week. So obviously we all have to kind of be aware because it's happening tomorrow. So we apologize if the information didn't come out sooner, but normally the process is that they provide a letter to all residents where it's going to affect. Temporary, so the hot topic recently, temporary partial closure of the Jersey Avenue Bridge. It started from 18th to October 22nd. So just realize it's from 6 o'clock in the morning to 9:30 in the morning, and it's only coming north on Jersey Avenue. Again, this is so that way they can get an idea how much traffic is really affecting this area of downtown because of the opening of the bridge. It comes right into Vanderbilt Park, and when we talk about quality of life, we're talking about noise pollution, traffic, speeding vehicles. We have several schools in our neighborhood, so it is a huge concern. It is not because we feel that we do not deserve to have traffic coming through the neighborhood. More specifically, it is because we are facing the dangers of families trying to cross the streets and people not stopping. Those people who are coming to use us as a shortcut or trying to get to New York or a freeway, and they don't have as much consideration to the people of Vanderbilt Park. And that should be a shame because we should be considered. We should have consideration for everyone's safety throughout the city. Wednesday, October 20th, that will be tomorrow. There is a DCNA forum, Downtown Coalition of Neighborhood Associations, for Ward E and Ward F Council candidates. That's going to be at the Grace Van Voorst Church, 39 Erie Street. The entrance is going to be on 2nd Street. So please stay tuned. That's 7:30 p.m., 7:30 to 8:30, and then 8:30 to 9:30. We're going to have Ward E, Ward F separated. We're becoming such a popular city. Movie production company is looking to film on York Street. It's very important. York Street, Jersey Ave, around the Van Voorst Park area, and it will be filming overnight. And this will be happening from November 10th and November 11th. Overnight, November 10th and November 11th. We'll provide you with more information as the information comes. We want to make sure that people are being made aware of this. So they are supposed to actually reach out to the residents around the park that will directly be affected. But we'll also have issues with street closures. On Saturday, October 23rd, it's a wonderful thing. In Van Voorst Park, in the Farmers Market, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., there will be a walk-up mobile vaccination site for 12 and over. It will be Pfizer, 18 and older, it will be Moderna and J&J. So there's no appointment needed. So again, if you're a believer and you want to make sure people are vaccinated, this is no appointment. Please come, and you get to enjoy the Van Voorst Park Farmers Market and enjoy the wonderful things that are offered. Again, I also want to thank our sponsors. I know we have one quick announcement from our Vice President, Angelo Estrada.
Yes, you just said it, it's about the vaccination.
Okay.
The vaccination in Van Voorst. We worked with the Health and Human Services, and they want to make sure this is for everybody, and not only Van Voorst, throughout the whole city. So we have the vaccinations. Many people have got, some people have not gotten the initial vaccination, and then we have the boosters. So we have both, and this is all for all of Jersey City, not only Van Voorst Park. So
Thank you. That's, all this information is on our newsletter, so please sign up to register for our EPA newsletter if you're not already. We try to share whatever information that we receive, whether it be any kind of event or any kind of information, we try to share it on our website and on our newsletter. And the one last thing that I'm going to do, tonight I'm going to make a nomination. I've had the privilege of working with a wonderful family. This is my Van Voorst Park family. And I believe it's time for me to turn it over to another wonderful person. And I would like to make a nomination tonight for our next president of Van Voorst Park, Craig Zems. If you could please just stand up so everyone can meet you. And please, I nominate you. Do I have a second?
I second that.
I have a second. I have a third. So that shows you how much love he has. Do you accept the nomination, Craig?
Yes, I do.
Fantastic. So,
With help, with a lot of help. Because you know, if it's not on the table, it's on the menu.
So we will have our final elections, and we will also be nominating the rest of our board. We want to make sure that everybody who has an interest in participating on the board, that they please email us, please let us know, so that when we can get new blood. We also have wonderful people that have been taking the reins of this organization, and we want to make sure that we allow for other people who have an interest. But we also, we have wonderful people that are ready to go, and we will be following up with the rest of the nominations and election of those nominees at our next meeting in November. Do I have one more question?
Yeah, I just, as somebody who listened to 99% of this meeting on Zoom, I just wanted to thank Una, without whom many of us on Zoom would not have been able to hear the wonderful remarks everybody made. So thank you very much.
Yes, Una is our former president, and thank you very much, Una. Thank you, everybody. So I would like to end on a wonderful note that we have a wonderful person taking over for us as president. So it was a privilege having all of you on one of my last nights as president to be able to share your thoughts. And trust me, I totally understand this is not a high-paying job. You're not going to be making everybody happy, but for sure it is something that is definitely needed. And we love having such a variety of people with such a variety of thoughts. So Jersey City is well represented here, and I hope everyone enjoyed themselves. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
So I will conclude tonight's meeting, and thank you everyone at home. Thank you very much for joining us. If you have any questions due to the amount of time, that you did not have answered, please share them, btdllc@gmail.com, and we will forward them to the candidates and try to put them in the community. Everyone at home, have a wonderful night. Everyone here, thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't ask your question.
Yes, if you, candidates, actually, I will say this, it doesn't, I will make one more comment. It doesn't stop here if you're not elected, so please, for the candidates that are here, if you want to share your information, because you are representing people, and those people need to be heard, so please feel free to share your contact information. Whether you're elected or not, you want to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you, and we'll make sure you post that information. Thank you.
Very true.
Thank you.
Anyway, so that was that, y'all. Was that good or what? I definitely enjoyed that. Let me see. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna end it right here, y'all. So, my name is Joy from Be the Difference Clothing, and let me see if they want to get on camera. How are you? I'm actually on my live right now.
Still on it?
Yeah. You think he might want to talk?
I don't see why not for a few seconds.
Yeah, this is it right here.
Oh, it's got quite a few people on it. That's cool.
Just a few. It's only 2 people now, but there was one question that people wanted to ask, but they couldn't.
Oh, okay. That's
Hi, how are you? Y'all were good tonight. I said you guys were good tonight. Yeah. So that's that. Yeah, right?
Did you enjoy it?
Of course. I'm always good for good conversation. Yeah, for sure. It was very good. But my whole thing is like, if they're one person against all this machine, how is it possible to do anything? I wanted to ask that, but then he asked the question. That was so irrelevant. Hey, how are you? You want to come on my show?
Sure.
All right.
Should I keep the mask on? Yeah.
If you want to, it doesn't matter. Hold on.
Uche, what's up, man? Sounds good.
Y'all, this is Rolando.
Hi, everyone. I'm gonna take the mask off. I'm fully vaccinated. Hi. So what are we talking about?
Everything. Everybody, it's live.
Hi, everyone. Did you see the debate? If you saw it, right? You were live streaming it.
Where can they follow you if they want to?
You can go to my website, LavarroForJC.com, or I'm on Facebook. If you type in Rolando Lavarro or Councilman Lavarro, you'll find my Facebook page as well. And you'll see a lot of information about me and my background, but also my track record, what I've accomplished as a councilman over 10 years here in Jersey City. I'm very proud of my track record. I think I'm not going to be humble about it because it's election time. I typically am very humble, but I think my track record is second to none, frankly. And I love the opportunity to continue representing you and all the people of Jersey City for another 4 years, so that I can continue fighting, as I said tonight, continue fighting for the people of Jersey City.
This is one question right here.
Yeah.
Answer it. What would their responses be? What is the top 10 things, projects that you want to see abroad in the next 10 years?
Top 10. Look, my top 3 priorities, as I shared tonight, is the affordability here in Jersey, equity, really, I like to refer to it as, and where we're being pushed out and gentrified in Jersey City. I'm from the Greenville section, and the folks in my neighborhoods and across frankly, the rest of the city are all being priced out of Jersey City at this point, whether it be renters or homeowners. It's becoming unaffordable for all of us to get to live here. And so I want to protect the people of Jersey City in that respect. And so there's a number of things we can do in terms of the top 10 type of initiatives around that, as well as inclusionary zoning ordinance. I've introduced it now a couple of times, and I'm going to introduce it again should I be reelected. And hopefully with a more favorable council, we'll be able to get something passed that will require developers to provide 20% affordable housing on site in their buildings, no exemptions, no buyouts, just give us the affordable housing. The second thing is I would use a lot of these public lands to build more affordable housing opportunities. I was just at a senior building today, speaking to seniors there, and we have from the Greenville section, 92 campers, the senior building over there. They have big parking lots that are publicly city-owned, essentially, and we could build more senior housing and still keep parking as well for those seniors, although it's not necessarily utilized extensively in the senior building currently. So we could build there, we could build more senior housing, the city could finance that. We made an investment in a French museum of up to $40 million to build that French museum, to build it out. We can do that to build senior housing and other affordable housing here in Jersey City as well. We can establish community land trusts as well as land banks to be able to, again, secure public lands and be able to use it for that. We can tighten our rent controls here in Jersey City. And I talked earlier about this, about bringing enforcement to Jersey City to be able to strengthen the enforcement. We need to strengthen enforcement for rent control to ensure that people are not being overcharged for their rents here in Jersey City, because we have strong rent control laws. We just need to enforce them here in Jersey City. And I was starting to mention, I ran out of time. I ran into the young man in the Greenville section who told me he was moving to Union, New Jersey just this past weekend. His rent went from $1,300 to $1,700. A young man, under 30 years old. And I told him that what they're doing is illegal, and you can fight that, but since you're already packed up, he wasn't ready to fight it. He was ready to move on with his life, and I don't blame him, frankly. But if you're experiencing that, know that that's illegal. Even if you're not in rent control, a $400 increase from $1,300 is illegal, without a doubt. And so we need stronger rent control enforcement. I could go on and on about those different things, but
Go check him out, y'all. Make sure you follow him.
we'd love to have your support. I'm Rolando Navarro. I'm 9B on the ballot, running for council at large. Thank you all. Thanks, Joy.
All right, no problem. I'll see y'all later, okay?
I couldn't really know what the intention was.
Wow.